Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Peteman Reviews. Today we have the Transformers Micromaster Transport Roughstuff. While he doesn't bear any insignia, Roughstuff is a Decepticon transporter. In terms of transport mode, he does have a handy little fifth wheel, which means he can rotate a little bit, but because of the way these come down, that's fairly limited. Nevertheless, if you're driving around, you can do so in circles that way, which, considering the fact that most guys don't necessarily have that option on there, it's quite a nice little, I suppose, quite a nice little accessory for what is essentially a very small Micromaster. In terms of detail, I'm not really quite sure what the cab end is meant to be. It's kind of a cross between a truck and a dumpster, or like a shovel. So, I'm not really sure what that's meant to be. Equally, what is the transport meant to be? I know on the Transformers wiki site it says it's a folded up plane which is transported, which is exactly what it is, and it's not really sure. It's probably meant to be like a missile transport, and the fact that missiles can go up like that. Nevertheless, I'm not quite sure that really passes muster. You expect there to be a big missile in the middle, so the transport part of it is perhaps one of the more disappointing. That's not to say it looks bad, it's just perhaps not entirely convincing as to what it's meant to be. Now, being a Micromaster, obviously you come with a little Micromaster vehicle. So Roughstuff transforms like that. This then goes like that. Head pops up. And there we go. He's very back heavy. There's a lot of gubbins on his back here. It's probably kibbled, to be perfectly honest, but I'm not quite sure what you could do with it. And he has his arms like that. So it's not too bad for a Micromaster. The fact he has quite large feet does help balance him. It's certainly needed. And as you can see, he's got arms that appear inside, kind of like a Nebulon in that respect, like a Target Master or something. Nevertheless, he transforms quite well. As for the folded up plane, well, obviously that unfolds to make an unfolded up plane. Rolls out like that. I think they called it almost a sledge rather than a plane. This pops up here. The gun part actually sits like that. So as you can see, you've got two notches here. That slots in like that. There we go. It's a fairly simplistic transformation. It's a bit of a shame really, because the wings here, they kind of look like it should be this way round. I know that you've obviously got little wheels that are meant to be as he's rolling along like that. A little bit redundant, given you can, never mind about that, in fact you can actually see that wheel there as well. But nevertheless, the fact that all the detail is on the wings here, you would expect them to be that side, whereas now on the showy side you've got hollows. So that's a little bit disappointing. As for the front of the, what do you call it, plane? Do you call it a sledge? It's kind of a plane. You can kind of imagine that's a window there, but it's not really very clear, is it? As for this part here, there we go, it's kind of a little handlebar. So it fits in here. You can see, I'll show you what I fit it in. Little gaps here, slots in there like that. It will then fold out. You might have to take that off, fold that up, put that back. This is actually, if you can believe it, it's for Roughstuff to hold on to as he's flying. Doesn't really fit, to be perfectly honest. So there are various ways of fitting it. Being a Transformer and being a Micromaster, you've got different options here. So what you could do, Roughstuff actually has a little hole there, and there's a little bit there. So he can actually stand quite happily here. You can see this is going to pop out all the time. It does pop out all the time. Don't worry about it if it does, just try not to lose it if that happens. It's not a problem. It just looks a little bit of a pain. Anyway, it's basically a handlebar, and the idea is that Roughstuff can hold on to it. Obviously he doesn't have magnetic feet, but never mind. I can see this is just going to pop out all the time and start to irritate me, so we'll just try it one more time. If this still doesn't work, I'm going to leave it popped out. Unfortunately, the plastic bar, handlebar itself is not really strong enough to keep it in position. That's why it keeps popping out. There we are. That looks really lame. And then you can then move this so it's at the front there. It kind of looks like he's holding on to a shopping trolley, doesn't it? It really looks like he's got a shopping trolley that he's pushing around. So there we are. Roughstuff. The plane, I don't know, it just isn't convincing, is it? I mean, again, the trouble is they've made too many compromises. The actual cannons, which are here, clearly this is the good side because there's no fills, and this is the area with all the holes in which they've done to save money and weight. But when he's in plane mode, that's the stuff that's all on show. So all you can see are the holes where they've saved, the money and the weight, which looks a bit naff. Roughstuff himself, it really looks like a shopping trolley. There's not much more you can say, like he's pushing the shopping trolley along. Okay, I expect you could argue it's meant to be a control rod for this, the laser cannon. But it looks like a shopping trolley. And equally, one has to say, if this is meant to be a plane, the proportions are pretty wrong. If Roughstuff is meant to stand there and hold it, these clearly aren't windows, so maybe it's a sled, a flying sled? I don't know, I'm not sure what it is. And I think that's the disappointing thing with it. Now, if we look at his Autobot equivalent, Erector, funny name aside, that's got a purpose, hasn't it? That's clearly a crane. And because of the extra turning circle here, that works far better in both modes. So it just doesn't quite work. I mean, you look at the cannon transport as well, for example. Okay, I'm not entirely sure this convinces as a cannon while in cannon transport mode, but it makes for a very good base, and then you've got the little guys who make up the somewhat odd combiner dump truck. We'll go into those when it's their turn. As for Roughstuff, I'm not quite sure what it's meant to be. In this mode, is it a sled? Is it a plane? Why is it got this funny handle? Why is all the wings and the cannons got the side that's clearly meant to be hidden on display? And yet when it's all folded up, I'm not going to transform all the way back, but if we just fold up this bit, for example, when it's in truck mode, what's it meant to be? It's just not clear. And I think this is some of the problems with some of the latter Transformers, particularly once you reach the Micromasters. What are they? They don't really bear much relation to anything. Considering the whole point of Transformers is they're meant to be in disguise, what are they in disguise as? If you saw this in the air, you'd know that that's a Transformer. It's clearly there's nothing like that on Earth, and you would wonder. Now, obviously, I am going to transform it back into its mode. You transform it like that, and we just transform Roughstuff back. It's very, very simple to do. The head's a little bit clunky, but there we go. And you saw this, as you can see, that's the fifth wheel there, and that just slots in. Given that two of these wheels are fake, it's probably like a third wheel. If you saw that rolling along the street, you'd have to wonder, what the heck is it? It kind of looks like it's a cannon transport, but it's not. What is it? And again, if you saw the cannon transport, you'd be sitting there going, what the heck is this? Because I don't really think that's not a cannon that I've ever seen going along. So, is it a missile? Well, it might be a missile transport, in which case, what's all of this then? It's just not clear. And as I say, that's I think what's a little bit disappointing about Roughstuff. As much as I like the idea of him transforming from a transporter into a plane, and the missiles, to be fair, when you see them from this side, look pretty good. The gun looks pretty good. The wings from this side, they all look pretty good. That's quite an effective mode. But what is it? It's the plane / sledge / skid. What is it? That's just disappointing. Anyway, never mind. In terms of Micromaster transports, no, it's not as good as Erector is. In terms of overall Micromasters, it's not too bad. It comes with stuff. It gives you a little bit more scope perhaps than others in that you do have both a truck and an aircraft. There's not too many that have the different modes, so that's quite useful. In terms of actual believability, it kind of loses the believability for me, which ultimately is meant to be what Transformers is all about. So, yeah, I still think it's a reasonably good toy to get. It just feels like it could have been a bit more, and perhaps that's where the more disappointing element is. Anyway, you might disagree with me. If you do, or if you agree with me, or just feel like saying something, please leave a comment below and click on the other videos, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.